What if you know your exact birth time, but it gives you the exact cusp between two signs? You don't really know very much. You only know you don't get an exact birth rising sign, and that's kind of confusing. So let's ferret this out in this chart found on Reddit. Now, a situation of an ascendant on the cusp is between two signs. And so this gives very few clues as to how to go forward. So we're left to choose between a 29-degree Virgo ascendant or the 0-degree position in Libra. And that leaves us to examine the rulers of these signs. And in this case, we're going to find for either Virgo or Libra based on the behavior or the character definition of each of the rulers, which is the rising sign for this horoscope. So let's make a portrait out of the ascendant's ruler, and that will make it more distinct. Our task is to develop a role or a story about how this person operates. With Virgo, we examine Mercury. Will this be a Mercury type? Mercury is in the 10th. He's high up in the chart, like standing in a balcony with a view of the street. Mercury is in Cancer and subject to the moon in Leo. How does the moon behave? Well, it's the one that's making demands on the Mercury. So moon is going to be rising and falling kinds of things. Stock market does that. That should be ruled by the moon. I'm pretty sure it is. Water, which flows in and out, or stadiums, which fill and empty. Also breweries. These are the kinds of places that are ruled by the moon. So the moon demands filling and emptying. And so that's a behavior of this Mercury. It's an emotional Mercury. In other words, it's subject to the vagaries of the moon. Anyway, so in Leo, how does the moon behave? So the moon in Leo likes glitter, performance, and that sort of thing. And being in the 11th, it has something to bring to an audience or bring to a crowd, such as the Congress would be the crowd, let's say, of colleagues of a president. And so this performer, I think it's a performer, brings his or her talent to this crowd, to this inner crowd, this inner circle. That's the 11th. Now, because Mercury only has one aspect, which is to Mars, we get an image of someone who has a bellicose or pushy style, also attributed to Donald Trump. Now, I don't mean that everyone is as irritating as he is, but this is a style. It's bold, but it also is in Libra. The Mars in Libra is a defender of the underdog. So this is kind of gracious. And so it might mean that this is a person who can make introductions on the stage very graciously, with a little bit of bite and insult, because we get the square from Mars. So we have to visualize this person in their social setting and how they stand over the rest and from their high position. Would that be from the stage? Now, Mercury in Cancer is a subject of the moon, meaning he follows her tide of swelling emotion or feeling, whatever it is that arises with moon, moods, or daylight. Let's move on to the second profile, the Libra profile, which is our second choice and gives us Venus in the 11th. She is in Leo and therefore subject to the sun. Now this gets confusing because both the moon, which is a luminary, and the sun, which is the only real luminary, both of these luminaries are in Leo, or have something to do with Leo, of course. I don't mean the sun is in Gemini, but the moon is in the sign ruled by the sun. And so Venus wants to be out in the light. She wants to behave just like the sun does. Also, she is aspected by Pluto and Saturn. We'll just talk about Pluto for a moment. And it shows that Venus derives power from the Pluto in the 3rd. And that would be the 3rd house it needs to be explicated here in a little bit, in a short explication, because I'm going to start with the ninth house and draw the inference. In the ninth house, we have orthodoxy, we have religion, we have education, we have the higher courts. And in each case, you must wear a tie. You must bring your best language. You must be prepared in each case. This is a higher level. It's not casual. None of these settings are casual. If you go into the third house, then we find the opposite type of environment, which is much more volatile language, meaning expletives and jokes and opinions and what else? Let's see. The kind of alternative street language would be how Pluto is functioning. And by trining the Venus, this means that the humor might come from that location, from an underworld location, something that is not necessarily out in the daytime world. So that is the two pictures. I think the Venus might be more of an entertainer, whereas the Mercury ruled ascendant might draw a person more to being a master of ceremonies, it seems like. I hope to hear from you in the comments.